That's only in the holovids. Everybody knows Overwatch got shut down.
What are you looking at? Don't worry, loves. Cavalry's here.
Number 7. Overwatch, released for the PS4 in 2016. Overwatch is a team-based hero shooter released by Blizzard Entertainment. It's a spiritual successor to Team Fortress, which was a game that I played a lot as a kid. Overwatch divides players into 2 teams of 6. Those players may choose from an enormous group of characters known as heroes. Each hero has unique abilities, and initially, the heroes were divided into 4 distinct roles: tank, attack, support, and defense. Over the course of this title's life cycle, many patches were released adding characters and maps, as well as various other changes that they made. Eventually, one of those changes was to remove the defense role entirely, consolidating defense characters into already existing roles. During gameplay, teams work together to accomplish map-specific objectives within a time limit. Blizzard frequently tweaked this title after release, adding new game modes, balance changes, and adding new maps and characters like I previously mentioned. Blizzard did not charge players anything for the additional content. The only microtransactions that were in this title was you had the option to purchase in-game loot boxes that contained skins, voice lines, spray paints, and a few other bells and whistles that were 100% cosmetic and optional and did not affect gameplay in any way. Overwatch is considered to be amongst the greatest video games ever made, receiving numerous Game of the Year awards and various other accolades. This game was played as an esport, with Blizzard funding and producing the global Overwatch League. This was the title that I played the most in the last few years, which was hundreds and hundreds of hours of fun for me. Many characters in this game come with completely unique abilities and kits from one another, which made trying out new characters feel really fresh, almost like you were playing a different game. To actually master this title, a player would need to master each character, which would be a crazy challenge even for players who are great at shooters. Over the years that I played this game, a few small issues did come up, such as balance issues. It seemed like they really weren't putting as much attention into this game as they were earlier on, and there was no true story mode either in this game. But the meat of this title was still fantastic, and it was always fun to play. I spent most of my time playing this game locked in on one character, trying to learn everything that I could about that character. This is called one-tricking in the Overwatch vernacular. That's what the community calls it. Some of the characters I one-tricked during my time playing through this game were Roadhog, Symmetra, Torbjorn, Lucio, and Wrecking Ball. Roadhog is pretty cool. He's a tank character, and he's got this scrap gun that acts almost like a shotgun, and he has this huge chain hook. The biggest thing with Roadhog is his chain hook. He basically throws it out in a straight line like Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat games, where he throws it out and does this get over here type move where he yanks an enemy, pulls them in. But you get experience with Roadhog and you get used to using this hook. What you're able to do is you do this combo where you hook a character in, you walk forward a little bit, you aim your scrap gun at their face, and you try to, it's a little bit of a different hitbox for each character, but what you want to do is you want to get most of the pellets from your scrap gun to hit them in the head, because that does double damage. Then you follow that up with a melee attack, and for most characters that are 250 HP or under, you could actually do this combo and straight out kill them. In Overwatch, it's very difficult to secure kills on enemy characters because You have tank characters protecting them, and you have support characters doing whatever they can to keep their teammates alive. So having the ability to combo out and kill a character in just a really short amount of time, just out of nowhere, it has a lot of value. Now Symmetra went through some really big changes from when I first started playing with her. Initially, and this is when I played Symmetra the most, she played as a support character, but really you would use her as defense. She has these little circular turrets that she was able to place above doors or in crevices, and what they would do was once an enemy came within a certain range, they would let out this static beam that would deal small amount of damage and slow that enemy down. So something you could do with these turrets is you could set them up above a door and around a doorway and set up this basically this kill zone where the first person to walk through this door would just get completely annihilated by these turrets. And on top of that, you can create an awesome fatal funnel, making it really, really deadly for the first enemy that would come through. It was really fun to do. She also had her primary fire would lock on and it would ramp up and do more and more damage the longer you stayed locked onto an enemy. And her alternate fire would shoot this slow moving orb that could bypass the non-static shields that were in the game that enemy tanks could project to protect their teammates. So she had like a lot of cool things that she could do, and she was really fun. Torbjorn played a lot like the engineer character from the Team Fortress games, where he could build this upgradable turret and hammer on it to heal it up, upgrade it, and it would shoot at enemies that would come within its path. It was really fun to use, and he had some other things that were pretty cool in his kit too, and he's another character where, like Symmetra, he went through a lot of changes. The turret was really what made him fun to use, and you could try to put it up in like clever little spots, so when a team fight would break out, your turret would be getting tons of value if the enemy took a long time to try to figure out where it was or put themselves in harm's way to try to destroy it. Lucio is a support character, and he was awesome. He's able to wall ride. He basically could skate on walls and stay up in the air, and he's super maneuverability. He also has what I consider to be the best ultimate ability in the game, where he creates a sound barrier that gives all of your allies this temporary max HP boost, which was awesome for initiating fights, saving your team from enemy ultimates, or just saving your team if many of them were low health and the enemy team was pushing and your whole team was about to get wiped out. You could just use your sound barrier, which makes Lucio jump up into the air, slam the ground, he says some cool voice line, and just you can completely turn a fight around. He also has two auras, a speed aura and a healing aura, which are really cool. I was on a pretty low tier of Overwatch, so generally my opponents and my teammates weren't that great because neither was I. So using that constant healing aura would bring a lot of value. High level players don't really use Lucio like that, but at lower level gameplay, you can get a lot of healing in just by staying alive and being near your team. His speed boost was fantastic if you played him alongside a tank that knew what they were doing, because you could engage that speed boost and push your tank forward to close the distance on an enemy team and really swing a fight and just create a lot of space. It was really cool. Lucio also has this ability to take advantage of one of my favorite things to do in Overwatch, where you can get these environmental kills by throwing opponents off the map. And his gun, its alternate fire, it would basically let out this like puff of, I guess you could say, almost like this air current that just would knock an enemy back a short distance. It was really easy to use that to throw and yeet enemies off the map. It was really fun to do. And certain maps, he was just a blast to play. Wrecking Ball plays unlike any other character in the game, where he's this tiny little hamster that pilots this mech that can turn into a ball and roll around. And this mech has this grappling hook. You could swing yourself up into the air. You have the ability to slam enemies to do massive damage to all the enemies, especially if they're bunched up, and knocks them up in the air, leaving them vulnerable. You could smash into enemies to displace them, knock them off the map. He was really, really fun to use. There's this cool combo where you could swing up with the grappling hook, slam into enemies, launch yourself in the air, ultimate in midair, which drops these mines that take a second to activate, then pile drive down on your enemies, knocking them up to the air, stunning them for a short amount of time, and then they land on your ultimate mines. You could just wipe out tons of enemies like that. It was so much fun. It's unfortunate that in Overwatch 2, he doesn't seem to be quite as good, because in Overwatch 1, I really liked using him. Now, learning how to play each of the characters and learning how they interact with each other is definitely a bit of a time sink. But trust me, it was a blast playing through the thousands of matches over the last few years. The high that you feel when your team is dominating the enemy and working together like a cohesive unit, or when you come back in a game that feels impossible to win. It's just an incredible feeling. The fun that I had playing Overwatch with friends or even with strangers is something that I've rarely experienced in my decades of playing video games.
It's only us! It's only us!
I'm gonna vote for myself.
I'll give it to Dom.
Give it to Dom.
No, you didn't, Jancy.
Yeah, I did.
Same.
You're welcome.
Even though the sequel, Overwatch 2, has some issues, I highly recommend giving it a go. I promise everyone watching this video that if you do give it a try, you will have a great time playing that game. Except when you lose.
No recall on the tracer.